I received the divorce documents via email while stationed in the desert. 13 years of marriage concluded in a PDF file. My name's Nathan, 42, a staff sergeant with the 82nd Airborne. I'd been in Kandahar for 4 months when Becky decided she was tired of waiting. The email's subject line read, "Let's handle this maturely asterisk." The body was 3 sentences long. She'd already submitted the legal forms. She'd already drained our shared bank account. She'd already moved her new boyfriend, Jeremy, into our Spokane home. I read the email twice, shut my laptop, showered in the communal bathroom, got ready for my shift, and kept quiet. That night back in my bunk, I replied with a single word, acknowledged. No arguments, no pleading, no threats. Wilson, my bunkmate, sensed something was wrong. "You okay, man?" he asked, eyes on his book. "Yeah," I said, "just some issues back home." He nodded, and that was it. Soldiers know when to leave things be. Honestly, I wasn't shocked. 6 months before deployment, things had shifted subtly. Becky stopped asking about my day, began staying late at the dental office where she worked as a receptionist, started hitting the gym 3 times a week but never looked sweaty, wore new outfits, made new friends I never met, and locked her phone with new passwords. I didn't challenge her, didn't snoop through her messages or tail her. That's not me. But I wasn't oblivious either, so I took quiet steps to protect myself. Nothing drastic, just safeguards. I stored vital documents in a storage unit across town. Birth certificate, marriage license, house deed in my name only due to the VA loan, military benefits paperwork. I also stashed my grandfather's watch and my mother's old silver there, items that held meaning. I opened a separate account at another bank, funneling a portion of my paycheck there, not enough for her to notice, but enough to avoid starting from scratch if things went bad. The night before I deployed, she hugged me at the airport and said, "Stay safe, all right?" Her eyes were dry, like she was farewelling a colleague, not a husband going to war. I should have seen it then, but part of me clung to hope that I was mistaken. I wasn't. What she didn't know was that I'd braced for this, and what she didn't realize was that I don't pick fights. But I do end them. I met Becky at a friend's barbecue in 2010, home between tour, crashing at my buddy Jason's place in Spokane. She was wrapping up nursing school but ended up in admin at a dental office instead. "Less pressure," she said. We tied the knot 8 months later. Becky used to say she admired my service, though she never fully grasped it. Her father was a bank manager, her brother a pharmacist, no military in her family. She'd ask when I'd get a normal job, not understanding that after 15 years the Army was my career, not a temporary gig. We bought our house in 2014, nothing extravagant but ours. 3 bedrooms, small yard, peaceful street. The VA loan was in my name, so only I was on the mortgage, but I added her to the deed because that's what couples do, share. My dad passed a year after our wedding, heart attack while clearing snow. My mom died 3 years later, lung cancer, though she never smoked. They left me some money, not a fortune, but enough to clear Becky's student loans and keep a buffer. I deployed 4 times during our marriage, twice to Iraq, twice to Afghanistan. Each return, Becky seemed more detached, more unsettled, like she'd outgrown the role of my wife. "I didn't sign up to be a military spouse," she said once when I mentioned re-enlisting for another 4 years. "I'm tired of being alone." I got that, I did, but the Army was where I felt I belonged. I excelled at my job. People relied on me. In 2019, things began shifting, small at first. Becky got annoyed when I called during her girls' nights, started talking about how her friend Melissa had divorced and was thriving, began saying we had nothing in common anymore. I suggested therapy. She said we were okay, just in a rough patch. Then came the late nights at work, weekends away with friends I'd never met, new outfits, a gym membership she barely used. I should have confronted her. But that's not my way. Never was. My dad taught me to think before speaking, to be certain before acting. So I observed and I prepared quietly because my instincts warned me something was coming. In this life, you trust your instincts. 2 weeks after the divorce email, I was in the mess hall when my phone pinged. A bank app alert. Another withdrawal, $8,500, nearly all we had left. I set my fork down and checked the app. The joint account balance was $212.37. Our savings, $47,000 built over years, gone, transferred to an unfamiliar account. Murphy, a guy from my unit, glanced over. "Bad news," I locked my phone. "Nah, just account stuff." That night, I called the bank from the base phone center. Becky had been siphoning money for weeks, small sums at first, then bigger ones. The large transfers began the day after I deployed. I hung up and stood in the hallway watching guys laugh, call their kids, their wives, their parents. Life went on around me while mine was collapsing. That's when Wilson found me. "Heard from Alvarez you looked shaken at dinner," he said. "What's going on?" I don't usually share personal matters, but Wilson had saved me during a rough moment in Kandahar. I trusted him. "My wife cleared our accounts and moved her boyfriend into our house," I said. "Sent divorce papers while I was on patrol last week." Wilson didn't offer cliches, no sorry or you'll find better. He just asked, "What's your next move?" "Not sure yet," I said. He nodded, "Let me know if you need me." That night I couldn't sleep. I opened my laptop and accessed our home security system, something Becky likely forgot I could do remotely. The cameras showed an unfamiliar truck in our driveway, a man I didn't know walking our dog, using my coffee mug, wearing my Seahawks hoodie. And there was Becky laughing in the kitchen I'd remodeled during my last leave. Something shifted in me, not rage, but something colder, sharper. I closed the laptop and grabbed my phone, making a list. Contact James, an Army friend turned lawyer. Review VA loan terms. Request emergency leave from Master Sergeant. Check refinance documents Becky mentioned offhand last year. Secure my military pension accounts. I wasn't sad anymore. I wasn't even angry. I was focused like I was planning a mission. This wasn't about feelings now. It was about tactics. At 500 before my shift, I emailed James, "Need legal help, urgent and confidential." His reply came an hour later, "Call me, secure line only." After that call, I knew exactly what to do. I didn't need to shout. I didn't need to threat. I didn't need to face her. I just needed to wait, watch, and let her actions become her own trap. 2 months later, I was back in the States. I didn't tell Becky I was coming. No call, no text. Just checked into a Spokane motel under an alias and met James. We met at a diner 10 miles out of town. "You look rough," he said, sliding into the booth. "Feel it too," I replied. James handed me a folder. "Got everything we discussed, house deed, loan docs, bank statements, and this." He pulled out a separate sheet. "Found something odd digging into your finances." It was a refinance application with my signature, but it wasn't mine. Someone had tried to mimic it but got details wrong. The middle initial was off, the strokes uneven. "Becky did this?" I asked, though I knew. James nodded. 3 months ago, pulled $30,000 from the equity. Your signature's needed since the VA loan's in your name only. Forge my signature, take a loan against our house, drain our accounts, and divorce me, I said. "She's been busy." "It gets worse," James said. "She listed her boyfriend as a co-applicant. He's got a record, 2 DUIs, a fraud charge from 2019. I took a deep breath. "What can I do?" "Several options," James said, "but first decide what you want." I thought it over. "I want what's rightfully mine, and I want her to face consequences." James smiled. "Here's the plan." The next day, I drove by our house. Jeremy's truck was gone, but Becky's car was there. I parked down the street, watched for a bit, considered knocking, but that wasn't the strategy. Instead, I went to the bank, met the loan officer who handled the refinance, showed my military ID, my real signature on my driver's license, and the forged documents. His face paled. "I'll report this immediately." "Understood," I said. "I've already filed a police report." That night, Becky texted, "Who have you been talking to at the bank?" "Jeremy says someone's asking questions." I didn't reply. The next day, I went to the county clerk's office, filed papers contesting the refinance due to fraud, and noted that no property changes could happen without me present. 2 days later, Becky called. I let it go to voicemail. "Nathan, we need to talk. The bank called about the house. What are you doing? If this is about the divorce, we can handle it like adults." Like adults. Same phrase as her email. I didn't respond. James called that afternoon. "They froze the refinance funds, and more, your wife's boyfriend was driving your truck, right? The one in your name." "Yeah. Got pulled over this morning, suspended license from those DUIs. They impounded it." "Good," I said. "He had stuff in the truck, prescription pads from Becky's dental office, not blank ones." I closed my eyes. "She's stealing prescription pads?" "Looks like it. Police are investigating." I hung up and sat on the motel bed. This was bigger than I'd thought. Part of me wanted to call Becky, warn her, old instincts. But then I remembered the security footage. My house, my dog, my life, handed over like it was nothing. This was the path now. I didn't want to turn back. I met the bank's fraud investigator, Thompson, the next morning. Short guy, tired eyes, coffee stain on his tie. "Happens more than you'd think," he said, spreading papers on his desk. "Spouse deploys, other sees opportunity." "What now?" I asked. "We froze the refinance funds, but some money's gone." "How much?" Half $14,600. I leaned forward. Where'd it go? Thompson hesitated. Can't share that. It's my house, my forged signature, my stolen money. He nodded, turned his screen. Transfers to Daniel Spencer. Not Jeremy, someone knew. Who's Daniel Spencer? I asked. Thompson shrugged. Not my area, but get your lawyer to subpoena these. I called James, leaving the bank. Daniel Spencer, he repeated. Let me check. An hour later, he called back. He's a real estate agent, specializes in quick cash sales. She was planning to sell our house, I said, the realization hitting hard. Seems so. Deposits were likely earnest money for a listing. But here's more. Spencer's worked with Jeremy Ryan before, closed 3 deals in 2 years. I sat on a park bench, processing. So this wasn't just Becky leaving me for some guy. Maybe a planned scheme, James said cautiously. Jeremy has a pattern, targets women in divorce or with deployed spouses, 3 cases so far. Homes sold below market to Spencer's clients. Jeremy gets a cut, then moves on. And Becky, she knew. Hard to tell, maybe a victim, maybe involved. I rubbed my face. This wasn't just betrayal, it was calculated, and other military families had suffered. What's next? I asked. I've contacted the FBI's Financial Crimes Division, James said. This crosses state lines, involves VA loans, military personnel. They're interested. That night in my motel room with a beer, I wondered if Becky had played me our whole marriage or got caught in Jeremy's scheme. Wondered if it mattered. My phone buzzed. Becky. Nathan, please call. The bank's talking fraud and Jeremy got arrested for driving your truck. I don't know what's happening. I stared at the text, then typed, who's Daniel Spencer? 3 dots appeared, stopped, started, stopped. Finally, I don't know what you mean. $14,600, multiple transfers, house listing. No reply for 10 minutes, then. It's not what you think. I turned off my phone and slept. Next morning, James called. FBI wants to meet. They've been investigating Ryan and Spencer for months. You're not the first, but your case could crack it open. For the first time since that email, I felt something like satisfaction. Not because my marriage ended, but because truth was emerging. I met FBI agents Patel and Donovan at their Spokane office. They recorded my statement, took my documents. Your case shows a pattern, Patel said. Intent, organization, conspiracy, not isolated acts. What about Becky? I asked. They exchanged glances. We're assessing her involvement, Donovan said. Did she mention financial stress, pressure to sell? I thought back. She said we were house poor, should downsize. I didn't agree mortgage was fine on my salary. When that start? Patel asked. 6 months ago, around when she likely met Jeremy. The refinance? Donovan asked. Never discussed. She forged my signature while I was deployed. They took more notes. Patel handed me her card. We'll follow up. Don't confront your wife or Ryan. We need to build this carefully. I nodded. Understood. That evening I drove to our neighborhood, parked down the street. Jeremy's truck was back, must have gotten it out of impound. Becky's car was gone. My phone buzzed. Becky, we need to meet in person. Riverfront Park tomorrow, 10 a.m. I showed James the text over breakfast. Don't go, he said. No good comes from talking now. I won't, I said. But I want to know what she's doing while she thinks I'm meeting her. We drove to the house at 9:30 a.m., parked across the street. At 9:45, Becky left, driving toward Riverfront Park. Now what? James asked. We wait, I said. 20 minutes later, a car with a real estate logo pulled up. Daniel Spencer. Jeremy greeted him. They talked in the driveway, then went inside. Follow them? James asked. I shook my head. No need. I installed cameras last year, inside and out, cloud uploaded. James grinned. You didn't mention that? Never came up, I said, opening the security app. Spencer and Jeremy were in the living room. Spencer was photographing. Jeremy pointed out features. I turned up the volume. Should list by week's end, Spencer said. Got a buyer, cash offer as usual. How much? Jeremy asked. List at $470 K, they offer $420K. Everyone's happy. What about the husband? Becky says he's causing trouble. Spencer waved it off. Military guys always make noise, but they've got deployments. He'll settle to move on. I turned to James. You getting this? He was recording the feed. Every word. I sent the security access to Agent Patel, happening now *. 30 minutes later, FBI vehicles surrounded the house. From down the street, I watched agents cuff Spencer and Jeremy. My phone rang. Patel. Got them discussing the fraud scheme plus conspiracy, wire fraud, attempting to sell under false pretenses. Need your formal statement. Of course, I said, and Mr. Briggs, your wife just arrived. She's upset. I looked down the street. Becky stood on the lawn, hands over her mouth, watching agents carry document boxes from our house. What happens to her? I asked. Depends, Patel said, on what she knew and what you want. I watched Becky 13 years of marriage, good years early on before this mess. I just want what's fair, I said. The federal case moved fast. Jeremy and Spencer took plea deals, implicating each other and others in a 3-state scam targeting military families. Becky claimed she didn't know the full scheme, said Jeremy convinced her I was hiding money, planning to leave her broke. Said the refinance was his idea. She just followed along. Maybe true, maybe not. She agreed to a settlement, full restitution of stolen funds, no claim to the house or my pension, a signed forgery confession. I didn't press charges. The divorce finalized 6 months after that Kandahar email. No fault. Clean break. On the final paperwork day, Agent Patel called. Jeremy Ryan got 8 years, fraud, conspiracy, identity theft. Spencer got 12, thought you'd want to know. Thanks, I said. One more thing, she added. We found 11 other military families hit by this. Your case built the pattern. They might recover funds because of you. I sat on my rental apartment's porch, watching the sunset, thinking about those families, my marriage, and the path forward. The truth was out, and that was enough for now.